Good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate you being here today. Good morning, Eric. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. I had to make sure my YouTube was muted, so I was muted for a second.
No worries whatsoever.
But doing
So,
well.
well, good. I'm glad to hear it. We got Carson City today, and I know a lot of people are going to be really interested in this. So let's look and see what we've got. I do have to check one thing real quick, just because the way this gets set up, there's stuff I have to turn on. So give me just a moment and let me get into this. Morning, EMR. How you doing, Steve? Looking for silver. What's going on? Good morning, brother. Nice to see you. Hi, Nana. What's going on? How are you? Jackalope, as always, thank you so much for your support. Definitely appreciate it. Let me turn this on. And let me turn off this ding ding thing. Okay, bye-bye leaderboard. All right. I have this live reactions. That little freaking thumb up button thing drives me nuts. So I always have to make sure I go turn that thing off. It's a little bit better than it used to be with the moderators, but it's still hard for the moderators to manage that. So we'll shut that off. Good morning, Sean. How you doing? Good to see you. Luther, what's up as always? Aloha, Miss Hawaii. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for being in here. David Carlisle, thank you so much for coming in. Yogsnav, as always. All right. Well, we're going to kind of dig into a little bit of story time. Now, last week we talked about Charlotte and Dahlonega, or Dahlonega, depending upon how you want to say it. Today we're going to be talking Carson City. And I've asked a couple people, should I just go over some facts, or should I do something a little bit different and do kind of what people like about the channel, which is more story time. So I'm going to tell you this in the form of a story. We'll take about 30 minutes. We'll talk about this. And then Eric and I have come up with some really curious odds and ends about Carson City Mint. So sit back, grab your cup of coffee, relax, do whatever housework you're doing, and just listen to the story of the Carson City Mint. Now, I'm going to use my normal voice, but I'm going to take the third-party view of an Old West miner, somebody who's actually been there. So I'm going to be speaking in that language. So when I say I know what I'm talking about in that reference, we'll see if people like this or not. All right. Well, howdy, partner. Pull up a crate and listen close. I'm going to tell you a tale about the Carson City Mint. See, now this is when the heartbeat of the West was a little bit different, and you could hear the pocketbook someone had in their hand. The year 1870. And life out here was wild and rough and rugged and dusty. And up here in Nevada, the mountain of silver, you might know it as the Comstock lode. And that stuff was spitting out fortunes left and right. Matter of fact, before the mint, the only way to really get your money somewhere was to put it together and travel across the country. Now, you had to travel across the country. You had to go some pretty good distances, and those distances would lead you to these very specific spots. One of them led you to the trails and city of San Francisco. Well, why was that? Well, because if you wanted to get your stuff refined, you wanted to get your cold hard cash from the iron ore, you had to go to the place that it was done. Now, see, the government recognized this, and they also realized that, it's likely that you're going to be relieved of your treasures by outlaws. So the U.S. Mint decided that they were going to build 3 mints, and one of the mints that was going to be built was the Carson City Mint. But I got a question for you. How many of you know what the CC stood for in the town of Carson City. Now, see, a lot of people think, well, it's just Carson City. But actually, there was a nice little local superlative that was frequently used that referenced this guy. Do you know who he is? Well, the CC in Carson City meant compliments of curry. And if you don't know who this is the first superintendent of the Mint, Abram Curry. Now, he started stamping coins, and, they use the term game changer, but this really was, because it meant that the miners and the prospector could get their pay a little bit quicker. They could get their hands on the cold, hard cash. And it's not the cold, hard cash that you see on the right. See, the miners didn't like the notes. They wanted those Morgan silver dollars. And during this time frame, that was the piece de resistance. That was what everybody came. And it was this Morgan dollar that turned Carson City into a vital hub. It helped the entire region grow and provided jobs for the steady person. And it's not too uncommon that these silver dollars that were minted from 78 to 1893 were going to be in the hands of every gambler, rancher, gunslinger in the territory. You wanted to grab a drink or you wanted to play a hand at the Deadwood or in the town of Tombstone? Well, guess what? These coins were probably going to be circulated in those areas. This is where money was money, and there was always a trouble brewing. What do I mean by trouble? Well, you have the likes in the 1870s of the Wild West, the legends. Easy money coming out of places like Carson City. These were magnets for people who were looking for both the good and the bad and the quick score. On the one side, you had the villains, the train gangs, the train robbers, Jesse James and his gang. They were robbing the transports of silver and gold. And down through New Mexico, you had the young and dangerous Billy the Kid. But don't let it fool you. He made his way up towards Carson City a time or two before being tracked down by one of the famous bears, Mr. Pat Garrett. And again, for every villain, you had a lawman. Now, these lawmen are the heroes. We see these. These are people like Wyatt Earp and his buddy, Doc Holliday. Now, Doc Holliday was famous for another reason. 1881, the shootout at the OK Corral. Or maybe this last guy. You know who he is? That would be the one and only Wild Bill Hickok. And so you had a lot of people that were defending because, again, you have a place full of silver and gold, and there's always some varmint trying to pull off a job. Now, most people think about this in the classic movie style, but guess what, folks? That's not how it happened. Matter of fact, we talk a lot about mint scandals, and a really big one happened here at Carson City. Some of you may know about it, some of you may not. And it wasn't a rough and tumble gang of varmint trying to steal money in this movie-style robbery. It was actually somebody at the mint. You know what they were doing? Well, what they were actually doing is taking gold, real gold, and they would cut out the center of it, and they would load it with silver. They knew enough about it because they dealt with it quite frequently, and so they got pretty good at hollowing that out, keeping the gold and forcing the silver inside. Now, the bars were a little bit bigger than normal, but it wasn't until you started to melt one down that you realized you had a problem. See, back in the day, we didn't have all this fancy fangled technology where you could put the stuff in there and check for the authenticity. You had to actually know your metals. Technology today has made it easier to detect people trying to rip you off. But we still, even to this day, run into problems with counterfeiting. We'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow on Sunday. But we talked a little bit about this, but everybody wants to know the true story. They want to know about the coins. They want to know about the mint marks. Well, if you don't know what this is Old Reliable. Coin press number 1. Now, see, as the story of the mint really gets going, it's not just the mint itself. We got some fun facts that we're going to talk to you about, but it was about the coins. So from 1870 to 1873, the very first coins started to roll off the lot. What were they? Well, seated liberty. But they weren't just dollars. They were dimes, quarters, and even half dollars. And it wasn't just silver. There was a lot of gold that rolled off the presses too. $5 half eagle, $10 eagle, and the $20 gold eagle. Now, everything with the CC mint mark carries a little bit of weight, but maybe not for the reasons in which you think. But there was something big that changed. 1873. Something was made, a law was changed, and they started minting the trade dollars. Now, they call it trade in trouble here in Carson City. This is when they changed the law and stopped making the regular silver dollar and started pushing the trade dollar. All this was going overseas. And see, our local folks, they didn't like that much. See, this was our silver. Why are we sending it abroad? Shouldn't be doing that. People weren't very happy about this. And it only lasted from 1873 to 1878. 1875, I don't know what they were thinking. You ever saw this? It's not a quarter. It's smaller. And it's not anything fun. It's a 20-cent piece. They went from 1875 to 1876. And again, just like sending our silver overseas, people didn't like this. It looked too much like a quarter. You guys would know something similar to this with the Susan B. Anthony. And, well, they didn't last very long. They took them off the books. But the centerpiece, whenever we talk Carson City, whenever we talk the Old West, is what? And that is this. The Morgan silver dollar. Of course, this is the famed piece. This is the piece that everybody looks for. It's the Morgan era, the big Carson City push. This is when Carson City became a real thing, a powerhouse in the West. But there were some things that happened during this time frame that would cause a lot of issues with the coins from Carson City. One of them in particular, this Pittman Act. You ever heard about it? If not, there's a video you might want to go check out on Frosty's channel. Or you can look at some information about the Big Melt. Now, this happened a couple of different times, but it really reduced the amount of mint marks, the coins, the silver itself that hailed from this amazing time. But I bet you all didn't know. I'm going to poll chat real quick. Were there any years that Carson City didn't mint coins? The answer is yeah. In fact, 1886 to 1889, and we weren't talking about alcohol, they called it the dry years. And this is when the floor fell out of the Comstock load, about 1885. There were political battles back east and over the country. Should we stick to silver? Should we go to gold? You had the gold bulls, you had the silver bulls, and people were trying to make up mind on whether or not they were trying to back our money by one metal or another. In some cases, they overvalued silver or overvalued gold, and unfortunately, it caused problems along the line. So for 4 years, up until 1889, a lot of these coins weren't produced. Well, 1889 came back, and that famed Carson City Mint finally came back up. The silver men won a victory. The mint got its coins back and started up the presses until 1893. It didn't last long. The last CC rolled off the press, 1893. The coining operation was shut down for good. But if you want to know more about this, the 13-year run of a coining operation done told. Dust, glory, and a truly wild time. Stay tuned. And we're going to talk a little bit about Carson City. All right, folks. So again, story time over. Let's talk a little bit about some fun facts about Carson City. And Eric, I know that you have one in particular that you were wanting to talk about, and it pertains to the building itself. So I've got the little picture. Let me pull this back up. I'll pull up the very first picture here. And let's chat about this. Oh, why did my screen sharing stop? That was weird. All right, let's go ahead and talk about this building.
All right. The building is made of Nevada sandstone, and it was built around the same time that the Nevada Capitol building, or I don't even know if it's the same Nevada Capitol building as today. I would say the original Nevada Capitol building was built, and the stone was contracted from the Nevada State Prison System. They owned a sandstone quarry. So it was all mined by prisoners. That's a weird fact. I don't know if you want me to go through a bunch of other facts.
Yeah, before I do that, though, I want to say thanks to Check Stacker for the 5 gifted memberships. Winston Double, Walter Boudreau, Humble Stacker, Vegas Stacker, Deneen. Thank you all for your support. Thank you, Check, for doing that. I greatly appreciate you, bud. Yeah, let's just keep on plugging with some of these. I think it'll be fun to kind of just talk in general. If you guys have things in chat that you want to talk about, or you know some fun facts, then please feel free to do so. Because again, today we're just talking about the general things of this. So
here's a trivia question: how many vaults were in the mint?
How many vaults?
How many vaults?
5.
On the first floor, there was 5, but there was 13 total.
Ooh, 13 in an old building is not conducive to a lucky number.
Yeah.
And
So
Tig just subscribed. Thank you so much for subscribing.
5 on the first floor, 8 on the second floor.
I think there were 5. I forgot that there were vaults upstairs.
There was basically a vault in like the ass areas, and they would be small vaults at this point.
Yeah.
A lot of them. There was 5 big walk-in vaults on the main floor. Basically, there was one in there where the foundry was, assay office, stuff like that. And a matter of fact, as you go through the museum now, vault number 3 still has access to vault number 3, and it's in the men's bathroom. Of all things, it's attached to the inside wall of the bathroom.
Yeah.
So,
if they didn't call the area Comstock, New Virginia, I'm not sure. I'm not tracking that.
the only thing I know about Virginia is press number 1, which is the famous press. Was the original press was manufactured by a company called Morgan and Orr. There was two other presses contracted after the first press was installed, and they were made by the Morgan Company, which obviously Morgan and it's the same company, it just changed names. But the first press, the outside frame of the press cracked, and it was sent to Philadelphia to be repaired. And the company that repaired it was so proud of their work that they rebadged the brass badge that's in the center of press number 1. And it was done by Virginia Truckee and Railroad Company. So that's how they know that that's the original press number 1. And that press made it all over the mints and was in, it worked forever. In 1893, it was sent to Philadelphia. And it was sent with press number 2, even though press number 2, there's no proof that it was ever used. That it was just assumed to be scrapped in Philadelphia. Press number 3 was never moved. It was scrapped right in Carson City. Press number 1 went to Philadelphia, and then when they upgraded to electricity, it was upgraded from steam to electricity, and it struck coins, silver coins, in Philadelphia to 1945. Then it was shipped back to San Francisco in 1945. And it struck coins in the San Francisco Mint till 1955 when they quit striking business strike coins for the first time in San Francisco. And there was a U.S. Mint history buff that worked at the San Francisco Mint that called the people that owned the building that the Carson City Mint was in, because it had been disbanded as an assay office in 1933, and said, "We've got your original press." And of course, everybody's like, "Well, how do you know it's the original press?" And it was that plate, the Virginia Truckee Railroad Company plate. And they says, "We'll sell it to you for the scrap value, which is like $252. And it took the Carson City Mint folks 2 years to come up with the money to buy the press, and they did. And it sat basically in the museum until 1960, when the U.S. government asked if they could use the press. And it was then shipped to the Denver Mint to help with the coin shortage and transfer from silver to clad in the early 60s. And it struck 1.1 million Denver coins. There's no information on the coins it struck in San Francisco and in Philadelphia, but then it struck 56.6 million coins in Carson City. And it's still striking coins today. As a matter of fact, there was actually legislation to have it strike the 2021 Carson City coins for the U.S. Mint that actually passed, but they decided to strike them in Philadelphia anyways.
And see, that's something where, people say, well, Philadelphia coins are always struck in Philadelphia. Not always.
No, well, we know through history now,
Yeah.
It's just coming out through Freedom of Information that San Francisco struck Philadelphia coins, West Point struck Philadelphia coins. All the mints have basically struck Philadelphia coins. It's just a coin without a mint mark on it. It would be very easy to do.
Yep, indeed. And every mint, you wouldn't know where the coins came from in 65, 66, 67.
That's right. And they came from all three mints, because San Francisco started striking business strikes again in 65.
And was it West Point that at one point filled a load to do some stuff?
Early 80s or late 70s, early 80s, there is documentation to say that there's no supporting like how many were struck, but circulating coins were struck all the way into the early 80s at San Francisco and West Point. But they all were Philadelphia coins at that point. But there's no numbers to say there was 258,000, because that would be great if you could distinguish these coins were struck at West Point,
Yep. Oh, yeah. And again, if you could determine that, if there was some way to identify that, it'd be another level of collectability. I don't think there's a way to do that, though. You have to study the dies very carefully.
65, 66, 67, we don't know where they were struck.
Yeah, yeah. The only way to know is if they were in mint-sewn bags and you happen to know where that bag came from.
Even then, I don't think that they came like that. I think that the bags were actually replaced at that point, where it just said Department of Treasury on it. Maybe.
I want to get to a couple of comments really quick before they fall off of my purview. Matt T. Coins, Comstock Silver Mine had a lot to do with the CC Mint location. There was a lot of silver coming out, and it was easier to get it there. Yep, absolutely.
But basically all the mints, same reason.
Yep. Jack, if Jack was here, he would have already told us the VAM on that coin already. That's funny. That's probably true.
Yeah.
He probably would have. Many towns were abandoned after the Comstock load ran out. Mining towns in general, whenever the precious metal ran out, they're ghost towns. That's how ghost towns formed. So that's everywhere. What's up, Kane? Good to see you. The Mint never wasted anything.
That is true.
They try not to.
About that.
Yeah, they try not to. They've done they've really done really good work during their life to remain profitable. Doesn't mean that they didn't have abuses of some of that. We see that through some of the thefts. But yeah, go ahead, fire away.
The no waste story. Back when they opened, they hired women to weigh the planchets. the planchet was under, it would be remelted and made into blanks and, of course, upset in the upset mill and stuff. But if it was over, they would file it down before striking. And every 3 months, they wore special clothes, coverings, gloves that the mint provided them. And every 3 months, the mint would shake, reharvest, and then burn the clothes to reclaim all the shavings of the precious metals.
Yep.
So you're not wrong. That's a very good point, Luther.
Well, and not only that, but and I'll see if I can find that. There was something that talked about the potential recoverings of some of those, and it's a significant amount of gold, a significant amount of silver.
They even did chimney sweeps in the forge, and would recover gold from the carbon that they would get out of the chimneys.
Well, remember the story that I talked about where you had the person that was taking the gold pieces out of the mint. Some of the old ventilation ducting and stuff like that was utilized. They would frequently have hatches, right? They would clean them out and try to get the tailings and stuff back up. Because again, as you're sanding stuff down, or you're running it through the machine, there's going to be particles that get sucked up, and it gets sucked up into that ventilation. Well, that was where he was hiding a lot of these little pieces of gold that he was taking out of that electroplating area. And so the mints had these for quite some time. That was a practice that was gone for quite some time. But yeah, fun stuff. How did San Francisco Granite Lady Mint compare to the CC in size and production, since they were geographically both in the West?
It would probably depend on what San Francisco Mint, because I think there's been a few of them, hasn't there?
Yeah, but you'd have to tell me the year, right?
That's what I'm saying. It would depend on the year.
Yeah, if it's pre-49, because when we talked about Charlotte and Dahlonega, they actually produced a lot of California gold, right? So people were transporting it home because they didn't necessarily want to get it refined in San Francisco. So even though you had the 49er rush and even stuff coming from Alaska, or maybe Alaska early in that 70s time frame, all that stuff was getting passed to some of those other mints. Well, actually, it wouldn't have been in the 70s. It wouldn't have been. It'd have been Philadelphia.
Yeah, I believe that at the end of Dahlonega and Charlotte, over 50% of what they were processing was coming from the West.
Yeah, and so I'm sure the numbers were fairly high. You could go back and look at some of the mintages. But again, you'd have to know the year, right? I think that Carson City was minting way more coinage during that time frame, silver coinage, than San Francisco was. But I wouldn't have the numbers. I mean, I can pull it up and see if we can find out what some of the exact numbers were. But Carson City was a pretty popular mint. One of the reasons that, and we talked about this very briefly in the story, was the Pittman Act, right? The Pittman Act was actually one of those things that caused the melting of a majority of Carson City's silver. Obviously not all of it. The GSA hoard was able to identify some. There were other hoards that were found throughout Nevada that yielded some Carson City items. I can't remember. There was a saloon. There was a hoard from a saloon. They found a bunch of stuff out in a storage shed, then under the floors. God, I can't remember what town that was. You'd think I'd know this with all the hoarding stuff that I've done. I can't remember. But there's been a lot of things with, the identification of, coins they thought were totally destroyed. And then all of a sudden you find, one of these major hoards, and all of a sudden now you have
there was something about 13,000 coins being found in the vaults of Carson City when they closed the assay office.
Yeah, and maybe that's part of the hoard that I'm actually thinking of. Maybe it was actually there. One of the questions earlier was, why was there so many vaults? There were so many sections. You had different coinage that was being done. You had Gold was stored separately of the silver. You had the people that were in the assay office that were testing the stuff, so they had whatever they were testing. So you had multiple areas, multiple rooms, secure environments. Yeah,
small vaults, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, but again, I mean, you think about, I don't know if any of you have gone to like the Library of Congress, but you go in, they give you an area, then you go to a room and you sit down and you do your stuff, and then you return it back to the librarian. Same thing's going to be happening with the precious metals, right? Or if any of you have been military and have done anything with kind of looking over documents about your program or your training, you have certain areas that those things have to stay in. You're going to want to make sure you're protecting your silver and gold, right? You're going to want to monitor it. Security was tracking things. And so you had to have a place to store that so that when you come back the next day, the thing that you were working on was there readily available to you. So they had, safes and different vaults and stuff, different levels depending upon where you were at. And obviously for the major metals, you're going to have your bigger, robust,
Yeah, the 5 on the first floor were big vaults. They were actually rooms. I got an answer to your San Francisco to Carson City.
Oh, fire away.
San Francisco was 100,000 square feet. Carson City was 11,000 square feet. San Francisco is considered a major production hub, where Carson City was a regional production hub. And usually San Francisco made 5 to 15 times more coins than Carson City did in the years that they made coins.
Right.
So that's all I could find, and it's from Google. So I wanted to get the answer fast. So that is from, let me find out. Oh, that's actually from the Carson City Mint Historic Society. So I would say that it's probably correct.
Probably pretty accurate. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of
from the Mint.
A lot of the stuff that I pull in my stories comes from those sources.
Yeah.
Now, does it mean that history hasn't changed a little bit? You can't find people who find different versions of history. Absolutely. Right. And so, are there other facts that are out there? What's up, West Texas? Good to see you guys. Yeah, there's always additional pieces of information, but I always try to go to the Mint website, look at the local offices. There were local banks and stuff like that. They all keep documents. So you try to find those places, and they usually give you a pretty good picture.
And that was like the press information I gave. Press number 1 has documentation of its whole life.
Yeah.
Press number 2, there's conflicting documentation. And press number 3, there's basically nothing that ever said that it ever left the Carson City Mint except to go to the scrapyard. So press 2, there was conflicting. They said that yes, it was brought, and yes, it struck coins during World War II, but there's no actual real information like from the Mint that says that. Whereas press number 1, there's documentation right from the U.S. Mint that says that.
I wonder why the changes. I wonder if this is a change in because my connection was lost. Hopefully I'm still live. You guys see me still? Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. It says connection was lost.
But it's amazing. For a press to last that long, I mean, it worked from basically 1870 to 1964. Striking coins.
All right. Well, I'm going to throw 5 memberships out there.
All right.
We're going to get Zentap, Voodoo Mama, Gutters Pub, Richard Metcalf, and Mike's Mule Barn, also known as Mike for Democracy. So thank you guys for being a part of the channel, for jumping in streams and saying hi, and congratulations on your membership. Did you know that there was an earthquake right after the Carson City Mint was built?
I did not know that.
Abram Curry rushed out to check the building, and it was put together so well, the structure was built so solidly that there wasn't an ounce of damage with the 6.1 and the aftershocks that happen afterwards.
Oh,
So
that's another
those,
characteristic of the building. Now that you brought that up, that must be why this fact is out there that it has 1-inch steel shutters on all the windows and doors from the inside. And it said it was to stop robbery and natural disaster. So they were closed up every night.
oh, so KTM, that's something that if you ever go to the museum that's there, they actually have all of their little gift shop stuff. They're absolutely right.
Yeah, they do a bunch of half-ounce
Yep.
silver strikes with the CC mint mark, and you can go to their online website. I think because they do, they'll do like 5,000 of these commemorating the press number one. There was actually a commemorative for press number one, but they do different commemoratives all the time, and that was one of the reasons that they almost had them strike the 2021 Morgan CCs there. That was, and it did get passed, but the mint decided not to do it.
Yep, the 1896 earthquake. Yep, it was just weeks. I think it was like 2 weeks after the building was finalized, and 6.1 magnitude earthquake. Yeah,
I wonder if that had anything to do with those shutters.
I'm not sure. I don't know how
that's
frequently
when
they
they
were
talk
put on.
about it in their website. They talk about it being for robbery and natural disasters. And why would they put I'm thinking to myself, wow, is there tornadoes in Nevada or something? You know what I'm saying? I didn't know what disaster they were talking about because I was unaware of the earthquake.
Yeah, so I mean, when you think about where Carson City is, so think about the map of Nevada. Carson City is on the left-hand side of Nevada, closer to California than it is to Utah, Arizona, or New Mexico. But it is on the left-hand side. And so when you're looking at the general location, remember California is full of fault lines, right? And those fault lines run all the way through Nevada. There's a series of fault lines that run through that entire area. So this had to be a fairly significant tremor. Now, I don't know if this tremor, the 6.1, I don't know if it was initiated by mining. I don't have that information. But it was, within a couple of weeks, the earthquake hit and this building was unscathed, absolutely kept together. There's also another political event that happened that kind of was the downfall of the assay office. Anybody know what that political event was and maybe the year in which that happened? I'll give you a clue. If you Google end of the assay office in Carson City, it'll give you the year and you'll probably be able to determine what event.
Well, I know what year it closed, but I don't know. The Depression?
Nope, little after the Depression.
Because 1933 is when the assay office closed.
And what happened in 1933?
The top of my head, I can't think. Wow.
Executive Order 6109.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Major big issue. And so it was around that time frame that they ended up closing this as an assay office, and they started moving the gold to certain areas. Again, when you look at Pittman Act, here's a question for you. Peace dollars, you understand peace dollars, right?
Sure.
Why was there a gap in the peace dollar, in the minting of the peace dollars?
That I don't know. Is it because of the Pittman Act?
It's because of the Pittman Act.
Yeah.
The Pittman Act had a lot of effects during this time frame, and I remember a fact, and I'm probably going to misquote this. I actually did a little shorter video on this. But if you took all of the coins and you set them side by side of the coins that were melted, it would wrap around the earth something like 4 times.
Yeah, you had that in another stream. You actually had the exact number.
Exact number, tell you exactly how many were. Yeah. And so the sheer volume of silver that was melted during the Pittman Act is one reason. Not just peace dollars are collectible, but the Morgan silver dollars, especially from Carson City. It's one of the primary reasons for that. because there were entire mintages from Carson City that were believed to have been wiped out. Now, some of those oh yeah, Morgan's as well. It wasn't just peace dollars. And to be honest with you, there were a lot of other coins that were melted down in that time frame too. Some of the seeded, there were some trade dollars, there were a bunch of different items that were being melted and that were being sent overseas in support of the rebuilding efforts after World War One. And so a lot of that went back over to Europe and tried to help stabilize their economy. And when they had done that, they'd ran out. They needed to produce more to meet the Pittman Act. And so again, Pittman Act started round two. They started minting more peace dollars. And again, that's why you have the peace dollars. And again, it's all tied to Pittman Act. So Pittman Act is one of the major reasons that the Carson City Mint carries such a premium. So if you don't know about the Pittman Act or you want to learn more about it, that's definitely something that pairs well with Carson City. Not just Carson City, also Philadelphia, but especially Carson City. It was a really interesting story. 1 ounce of gold can plate 1 square acre of land if done correctly. There's a misnomer regarding how much gold you could, like 7 gold coins could redo the entire Brooklyn Bridge or something.
The terms are different too. You've got gold plating, and like in jewelry, gold filled has a lot more gold in it than gold plated does.
Yeah, and so doing some research on that one, people are like, you could do it with, redo the Bay Bridge or whatever with 7 coins. You actually can't. It's only the upper portion of the bridge that you could do. If you were to do the entire one, it would take something like 1.2 tons of gold, thinly spread out to cover the entire bridge. But it's just the surface when they do that. So there's a lot of those wives' tales things. But yeah, if you did that, it's a fairly large area, Luther. It's a really interesting thing. But again, yeah, the Pittman Act, if you don't know the story, you definitely want to track and be following on the Pittman Act, because a lot of cool things on the Pittman Act. What other fun facts you got?
That's about it as far as that mint goes. Trying to think in the data banks now.
I'm trying to pull up mintages of some of the CC Morgans real quick.
Oh, there I do have that handy. They made 13,862,000 Morgans from 1878 to 1893. I have that written down on my notes.
$1885 CC, one of the lowest mintages, 228,000 coins. 1889 CC, 350,000, another crucial date. Now, there is something else that I want to mention. When we talk about limited quantities, a lot of people utilize the word rare. We had somebody come into the stream last week and was talking about the term rarity. And again, yeah, Sonny, you're absolutely right. They don't make things like they used to. Absolutely fact. But they were talking about the word rare. And one thing that I'm trying to, Mike Nodelman said something that really kind of stuck with me, and that was the term desirable over rarity. The reason they fetch such high premiums is because they're desirable. Not necessarily rare. Like the 1909 SVDB isn't rare. It's desirable. And desirability paired with how many there are, not rarity, but how many there are, and condition play big roles. So I'm going to try and stay away from utilizing the term rarity on the channel unless we're talking about genuinely rare coins. And
what is the scale to actually say what is rare and what is not rare?
Utilizing the rarity indexes, they give you ideas. Right. Over 100, 5,000 is kind of like the peak of their number system. So utilizing those, because again, limited supply is not rarity. It doesn't mean it's rare. And again, I appreciate the conversation there. There's a lot of different information, but there is. I do agree with what they had to say.
Oh yeah. Oh, I do too. Let's see, universal rarity scale. Let's see. Yeah, rare is 1. Goes up to what they consider rare as far as coins, as far as the universal, anything under 31,999 is rare.
Okay, that's a good number. Yeah, I know there's a couple key numbers inside there.
Yeah, there's 2. That you are here it says goes up. It says it goes up to 500,000. So a 1909S VDB would be considered URS 20, which is the highest it goes. Oh, yeah, the highest it goes.
But it's not considered rare.
Well, that would be anything 500,000. It would be 20. It wouldn't be considered necessarily rare. I'm not sure. Well, let's see what this says. Oh, that's different. That's for Van Allen. That's for peace dollars only.
Yeah.
This is Sheldon rarity scale. Sheldon rarity scale says R1 is greater than 1,200. So that's basically for colonials, though. But the URS scale, it doesn't really break it down except to say that it stops giving rarity scale after URS 20, which is their top universal rarity rating is number 20, and that's 250,001 to 500,000. So a 1909 SVDB would fall into URS 20.
Yeah, but I don't know that I would consider 500,000 rare. That's a whole lot of stuff.
Right, but you got to consider how many are left. 1909S, there's a lot more left because a lot of people kept them because it was the first year. But if it would have been, well, look at a 14D, 1.4 million. They're harder to get than people think they are. I mean, you can get them. There's still probably thousands of them out there.
Especially in the last 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, technically, if you want to get into rare stuff, even according to this, anything under URS 10, that's 500 examples known. And that's why some dye varieties are worth so much money, is because there's literally, well, look at, is it an 88D doubled ear scent? There's 3 known, so it's URS 3. That's 3 to 4 known. That's rare. Even when you get into the 1964 special mint set coins that were minted, depending on the denomination, there's 40 to like 80 coins of each. That's still pretty rare. Rare enough. Well, there, a 1982 small date copper cent. That's another one. URS 3 to 4 examples known. And I get emails every day saying that people find them.
Yeah, no. Sorry. Yeah, no. And, and I like the way Chuck explains it. It's like, look, the odds of finding these is, 1 in 1.9 billion or whatever.
What did he figure it out? It's the same odds as being struck by lightning twice and then being eaten by a shark or something like that?
Well, yeah, like being eaten by a shark while bebeing struck by lightning. Yeah, it's an ungodly number. And people are like, well, I found a bunch of these and they're all the same. No, not likely, especially when you identify, there's only 3 or 4 of these. But again, for the terms of rarity, when we talk about something that's rare, we'll mention it's rare. I'm going to try to use desirable. 500,000 in my book isn't rare.
It's definitely a lot of high value coins. It's not because they're rare. It's because there's something about them that people think, wow, this is really cool, or I love it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
There's something that makes people like it.
Just like the Carson City. There's a 1883, right? Huge vintage of them. I've got a couple of them. MS63, you're looking at a $350 coin. It's affordable for people. They're definitely not rare, right? And so people go, well, it's Carson City, it must be rare. People need to get away from utilizing the term rare. Carson City is a more desirable mint mark. That's what it is. That's what that means. Yeah. So Luther, now you're talking about some of the hot lips is one that I really want to get. I don't know what the alligator eye is.
The alligator eye is another one that's a double die on the eye of the Morgan.
Yeah.
They're not uncommon. You can find them relatively cheap. You can actually find them just looking at the coin. I don't even remember. I think I've got 2 of them sitting around here. I couldn't tell you where they're at, but I know I've got a couple, and they're ones that I've just found looking at coins. So, and I think there is 2 years of alligator eyes now that I think about it. But getting back to rarity, there's only one Carson City coin that would actually be URS 19. The rest of them would be URS 20 or not even on the scale.
And that's the 85cc or the 89.
85cc would be URS 19.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, now, again, if you want to talk about the King of Morgan dollars from Carson, or the King of Morgan dollars, the 1895p proof, right? There were only, 880 of those or something like that. It's a very small vintage. When you get down into that, and again, under 5,000, gold maple or platinum maple said, Canada under 1,000 coins. You get to under that 5,000, 10,000. Okay, I may go as high as consider rarity starting at about 10,000. Okay, because
you also got to consider the time period of the manufacturing of the coin.
Well, right, because if you're talking about 1877, when they only did 12,000 coins,
right? How many survived?
Right, exactly.
So that's when a lot of this scaling, like the URS scales, a lot of that they're assuming stuff. I mean,
there's a lot of assumption in this hobby.
Right. Well, I'm just saying they're assuming like the 88D doubled ear that I was talking about. Right now, there's 3 to 4 known. Some guy could open a roll of 88D coins up and find 15 of them, and then have a whole bag of them sitting there, and all of a sudden there's 5,000 of them. Are they rare anymore? Probably not, because there's really more than there is interest in the coin.
Right.
That gets back to desirability on top of rarity. Right now, it's desirable because it's a unicorn. So,
and you're going to see
things in this hobby can change from year to year. What is it? The 1903? Oh, there were people that were paying thousands and thousands of dollars for it, and then all of a sudden, they find a bunch of them, whole vault full.
Well, and it wasn't. Oh, I got my little echo back. Hold on.
Yeah.
There we go, and it should go away. It's whenever I change this one thing, it always echoes. I gotta close something real fast.
So that's another thing to consider. That desirability can change, rarity can change. It's static.
Well, yeah, and again, as you were saying, those coins were going for close to $10,000, $12,000, $15,000, and all of a sudden now they're a couple hundred. Maybe 1,000, and so.
Well, look at the 83p double die reverse. Not only is it cool and people want it just because it's cool, but the coins in general are deteriorating and rotting away. So it's becoming rarer by the day.
Which one is that one?
The 83p double die reverse. I mean, it's bare eye visible. You can see it's real strong.
Okay.
It's on a zinc planchet, and they're rotting away. So anything that's out in the wild it's pretty much every day you're losing examples of it, I'm sure. Even the stuff that's in the slabs, stuff in the slabs is deteriorating.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons that the grading companies, as far as like Lincoln Cents go, as far as copper goes, period, they want you to reslab them every 10 years, reholder them.
Yeah. And so, SE, you're talking about the rare coins. Rare condition is something totally different, right? And we talk about the condition.
That's another thing. Yeah.
That is something I always reference, the 1926 S, right?
Right.
It's one of those coins that if you pull an MS66 of that and an SVDB, that 26S is way more money. And so conditional rarity is a thing. But my whole point with this is that a lot of people, and again,
I wish I could remember
universally. Yeah, and that's not correct. We and there are people that came in chat, and I can't remember his name. You have to excuse me, but when they came in, they were trying to reiterate that. It's like, you're absolutely right. Understand what rare means, and again, for myself, anything under 10,000, I would consider more towards that rarity scale. But much more than that, I mean, especially, good grief, these people, 20,000, 25,000, 60,000, 100,000, 500,000, those aren't rare. I don't care if they fall on the rarity schedule. They're not rare.
Scale. It doesn't mean they're rare. It's giving you for a scale to compare it in rarity to the grade above it. You know what I'm saying? It's steps. It's like a step ladder.
Yeah, but it's still, I just don't understand why. Because again, when you're looking at the things from Carson City, number one, because again, we are talking Carson City, right? That's the whole premise of today's discussion. There are going to be certain coins from there that mass majority of those coins have been destroyed by the Pittman Act.
Correct.
Mass melting. So are they rare? Well, some of them, maybe. There are definitely ones that are more desirable. There's definitely ones that are lower denomination that carry heavier weights. It's not just Morgans, right? They melted silver. So a lot of those halves, those 20-cent pieces, all that stuff got thrown into that mix. It was primarily dollars, but it wasn't the only thing. Then you also have local melt off in those areas, with people trying to, just keep the bullion, not necessarily wanting the coin. We still see melting to this day, right? So do we really genuinely know some of the numbers? No. I don't like talking about rarity in that fashion.
Here you go, Frosty. Here's a good indicator. They made about 3,800 1870 cc double eagles. And right now, there's an estimated 35 to 65 known. None of them are mint state.
Okay.
So that would, even though, I mean, it was rare to start with, but now it's extremely rare. It's a rare coin. I mean, the AU53 example brought $400,000 in 2014. So that's $1 million coin. Oh, sold for over 1.6 in 2021. So that's a $2 million coin now. That what I'm saying is there's things in history and things in time that can make a coin that wasn't necessarily rare again, or rare for the first time. I mean, you can get into ancient coins, and this would be something to ask Aaron Burke. They might have made thousands and thousands and thousands of them, but now there's only two, and there are only two legal ones or whatever. Because when you get into that, you get into all sorts of different prerequisite things of ownership. So,
well, provenance is a real thing when it comes to coins, and a lot of people don't realize that provenance matters.
Right. No,
and so especially with ancients. So
my point is, a lot of coins could have a heavy mintage and be rare still. At this point, Luther made the comment about, or somebody made the comment, will zinc cents be rare? in 200 years, I bet you they are rare.
Finding one that's not completely rotted away.
That's right.
Yeah.
In our lifetime, there probably will never be rare.
So I want to address a comment in chat. It's if you were to invest £1,000, what would you invest in as a beginner? The first thing I'd do is contact a financial advisor. We don't offer financial advice. But if it were my money, I would diversify it. I wouldn't put it all into one thing. But each person's needs are different. And so in order to answer that question, you really have to assess what your goals are. So if you don't have a good way forward, then it's a really good idea to get a financial advisor. But I can't give you the answer simply because that's not what we do.
But as far as coin goes, the words of wisdom is, if you want to make $2 million in coins, start with 4 million.
Start with 4 million. Yep. Yep. Exactly right. Yeah. If you're going to put money, if you were going to put £1,000 into a coin, make sure it's a rarity. Make sure it's highly collectible. Make sure it's some of the finest grades. You want to make sure that you have something that other people are going to want. Don't buy a bunch of common stuff. That's not going to help you.
You know, I hate to, like I say, it's not any investment strategy. Key date coins and coins of, like we were saying, that they're just valuable for other reasons besides rarity. You usually can't go terribly wrong with them. But I still don't think I would make a retirement investment in coins unless I liked collecting coins. I just don't think it's. If you're going to, it's got to be a real rare coin.
So my wife asked me one time, she's like, I know you love coins. You like silver, gold. You like learning. You like talking about this. But what is it about the coins that why do you collect them? And it's like, well, probably the same reason a lot of other collectors, and I'm not talking hardcore stackers. There are some of you that are, it's all about weight. It's nothing else. There's no deviation. It's stacked at weight, sometimes in partnership, but not always in partnership with prepping. But one thing that I want people to understand about what I do is if I'm going to be spending money on something, I want to be spending money on something that's going to maintain or retain some value.
Yep.
You know, a lot of people collect cars. Cool. You may or may not get your money back.
Your cars are going down in value right now, classic cars, because there's not enough buyers out there.
Artwork, stamps.
That's happened to coins in the past.
Yeah. And so when you're talking about any kind of collectability as an investment, it's not the smartest move. There are other things to do. But if you're going to utilize that as part of your strategy, you had better know what your plans are. So get a financial advisor involved.
Do you know what my first thing about collecting coins was? When I was very young, was
collect what you like.
What drove me towards why I like holding on to coins, or where I have coins, and I think it's part of my hoarding issue, is the emotional feeling I got. I was probably 5 years old, and I got a brand new penny and change. I went up to the corner. And that was like one of the highlights of my life. And you go, wow, that was a highlight of your life? Well, yeah, I was like 5. It was like one of the first times I ever spent real money at a store, you know? And, you know, I was going to make a comment. It's because they're shiny. When your wife asked you, it's like, I like shiny stuff. I like shiny stuff, but I like coins. I like history. Everybody's saying the same thing, history all the way through. It all kind of links together, because that feeling I had when I saw that shiny penny, that's history to me.
Yep. Well, you know? And that's something that's been kind of a common theme in chat is history, right? That's why we like numismatics. This is why I tell the stories that I do on Saturday mornings. We like the history of these things. But again, if you're trying to find coins as an investment, number one, we probably don't have the money to really invest in those coins that are going to hold that kind of thing. You can find them.
your advice to seek professional help,
Yeah.
I am sure there is numismatists that can tell you how to invest in coins also. I'm sure there's
it can be part of your strategy, absolutely.
Yeah.
But again,
but seek professional help. You know what I'm saying? Don't just say, well, I'm going to buy all this.
Yeah.
And eventually it's going to be worth more money. When I bought what I bought, I mean, I've got just a lot of Lincoln cents and a lot of coins laying around.
Yep.
I never thought, I didn't buy them to make money off of them. I bought them for a different reason totally. And that's to look at them. One by one. I own more than I can ever look at in a lifetime, but I still want to look at them.
Yep.
Now, all of a sudden, with the way people are hoarding coins, everything's going up in price. I don't agree with that. But now, all of a sudden, the silver, when I was a dealer, I still got 500 rolls of silver dimes. And I never in a million years thought they'd be worth anything but like $30 a roll.
Yep. Well, they're way more than that now.
They are.
Yep. I want to get to a couple of comments in chat. SC Stacker, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. My 1853 arrows and rays aren't rare, but they're beautiful coins to me. I love the seated. Christian Gobrecht is my guy. Russ Bega is also a seated person. And there's some amazing coinage from Christian Gobrecht. You like what you like, right? And so collect what you like, collect what you enjoy.
I love that comment that Luther made.
Which one?
He has coins that are rare to him because it's a story in his life.
Well, and again, but
common to everybody else.
What's important to understand that, what's up, John Shank? Good to see you. What's important to understand, and this is hard to explain to people. I'm going to just say this real. You might not like this. Just because it means something to you doesn't mean it's valuable.
No, that's what he just put in his comment. The end of his comment is it's common, it's priceless to him, but common to the next guy.
Right. And so Luther gets that. Luther understands that. Most of you all get that. Most of you know that. But a lot of people don't realize, well, my grandfather said this was a really valuable piece. It might have been to them.
That's right.
It might have been to them. It might have some connotation. And again, provenance on the history, like this piece behind me. There are a number of these pieces out there, but there's only one of those. And that was because it was given to me by the artist himself.
That's right.
Right. And so people are like, well, yeah, but how do you know that? Well, there's something written on the back of it. And I have a letter that's sitting up above it that says, it's, hey, this guy worked with me. He's a good guy. And, now that's provenance. Now, if you have good provenance, then yes, that can, not always, but can add to the desirability. But again, is this rare? No. What is rare is the letter written in handwritten script signed by him that calls my name personally and says, he was a good guy and I give my recommendation. He didn't do a lot of those. That's a rare letter. But there's thousands of recommendations by other artists. Is it rare in its form? No. Does it mean anything? Hell yeah. It means a lot to me. But to the next collector, you got to find the right person.
And to me, that's why I collect coins.
Right.
What they mean. I'm not doing it. Well, I don't. I have a very difficult time selling coins.
So there's stories about coins, and I'm going to reach down and I'm going to grab something real quick. Trey, thank you for subscribing. Much appreciated. I am going to, and folks, by the way, and I pinned this in here, 75% of the people who come in and watch the channel never subscribe. If you kind of like what the conversation is, subscribe, turn the notification on, come in. If you don't like what you're hearing, then you can go find, another thing to watch that time frame. But if you want to be notified of when stuff like this comes up, make sure you're subscribing. That's the big one. So Trey, thank you so much for subscribing. I'm going to pull out a coin. And there's somebody in here who's going to get frustrated by me showing this coin. Because again, it has history. So sorry, John. Not like I'm going to call him out. But I have this coin here. And John knows it. He's already flipping me off properly. There's a story behind this particular coin. We were in an auction. It was brought up. I won the auction. Caused some frustration with a number of people. Sold it back to the person that we bought it from. And then I ended up buying it back later on. It is a cool coin. It's got lots of doubling. The entire face is double. It's a really nice piece. Great Overton. I think the Overton's 109. But that coin will always hold a very interesting story about the generation of my channel. What happened early on, the relationships that happened from that. And those things, now, does that make that coin any more valuable? No. But there may be people in chat, and again, who know the entire story. And it's that story that sets that precedent. And the one thing that I like about Carson City is that you guys know I like to storytell. I do this stuff all the time. And I like doing train robberies, the Old West, some of the things that happen, the thefts from the Mint. There's so many cool stories from Carson City. The gunslingers, the OK Corral, the stuff that's there. How many people have ever picked up? I'm going to grab one real quick.
Pick up a coin and wonder if it was in the OK Corral or one of the in Tombstone or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like history. You could be holding history and not even know it. It's like the Riel that I have off the Etosha. Who held that coin?
Fact. Yeah. And that's the wonder and amazement that's coin collecting. That's what I like about coin collecting. This coin right here, it's really got really pretty blue colored toning. It was because it was in a book that had built in it. It was one of those things. And this actually came from a coin shop in Nevada. It was picked up by my granddad in a little town called Fernley, Nevada. And that Morgan dollar isn't particularly, it's nice. It's probably MS64. It's got some really good toning on it. But every time I look at that, I remind myself of my granddad and why I got into the hobby and some of the stuff that he taught me, some of the lessons that he learned. I don't know any of you that if you were to get that coin would go, oh, this reminded Frosty of his granddad. Because what matters to what story I like, the story that implies or invokes an emotion may not evoke an emotion with you. And Eric, you and I have talked a number of times about different coins and what you did as a collector and having your own shop.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say 2011 silver price and what happened, you get that cringy feeling because that's when you were like, I'm done. I've got to get out.
No, I got the cringy feeling before that.
Yeah. Well, but you understand what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
But this is where these conversations are fun.
It was what put me, I already wanted to stop doing it. It was just like, it was what pushed me over the edge and like, do I want to risk my money? Because unlike a lot of coin places, it was my money. I wasn't using somebody else's money. And did I want to risk it? And it was like, no, I don't think I want to risk it. And I wasn't doing what I liked. It wasn't fun for me. It was work. And I do coins and what I do in coins because I love it and it's a passion for me.
Yep.
When I was buying and selling coins, it wasn't passionate at all. It was work.
So I have stories from different people in YouTube because of some of the interviews that I do, some of the conversations that I do, that if you tell me about a 1906 Indian head cent, I think of Salivate Metal. Why would a 1906 kind of be the coin that reminded me of Salivate. Salivate's done so many things. He's a stacker. Why would this particular coin? Because I've heard his story. I've listened to his story. I've learned about, why he got into collecting and why this piece and his grandfather, why this piece meant so much. And why does that piece stick with me? Well, my daughter was born in 2006. It's her 100-year coin. The coin that got Salivate into collecting with his grandfather was the coin, one of the first coins I was looking at, because when my daughter was born, I wanted her 100-year coin. And a lot of our stories overlap, right? And it's those conversations. It's having story time like this and having the discussion afterwards that allows people to share those conversations. Looking in here, like, SES, Frank and Jesse James, great stories, right? But to think about holding a peace dollar from 1924 and think about the Dalton gang. You think about some of the biggest train robberies, the Gentleman Bandits, 1924, the story that I did on that one, where only one time were they really abusive. Now, if they had somebody unruly, they would get a little bit violent. But for the most part, it was, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. Ma'am, may I relieve you of your jewelry? And they were always called the Gentleman Bandits, right? You think of Gentleman Bandits or the Sticky Bandit from Home Alone or something. Right. These names stick, right? Because they're fun stories. So anytime I look at a 1924 peace dollar, it reminds me of that event. It helps tie me to the history. And not only as a younger or as an older generation, and I say older generation because who in chat right now is under 45 years old? Some of us, maybe a couple, but for the most part, most of us are 45 or older. Why is that? Well, because we're kind of stable in our life and we have money to do this, because we go through a gap in this hobby where we lose people. And it's usually college to Luther's 36. Okay, perfect. We lose people in that time frame because they're having families and career and stuff like that. Luther, I started when I was 6. Did you step away from it for a few years when you had your kid and got married? And this is kind of a common practice for people.
Yep. Start of your career, all that I did.
Yep. Well, as soon as my daughter was born, I collected a bunch of stuff, but had to quit because I was working about getting things done and doing all sorts of other stuff. Vote for Pedro. I live 50 miles away where some caves Jesse James and the gang used as a base. They're sealed off now. I'm going to bust in one day with my metal detector. Oh, metal detector. Another fun fact. In, who you call an old timer? What's up, Mike? How you doing, bud? In Nevada, metal detecting, you can only surface detect, from what I understand. The law is you can't actually dig. So if you ever metal detecting in and around Las Vegas in that area, Binion, Horde, or something like that, be aware of your common laws. Some places you can't actually dig. It's only surface finds. EMR says, I'm 60, collected heavy until I was about 13, picked it up around the 40s. But that's pattern. That's pattern. It wasn't until a couple years ago I picked it back up. Things kind of settled down. I settled into my career. My kids got older, and some of my money became my money again.
Yeah, my spark was my one son wanted a Whitman folder, and I got him a Whitman folder and a bunch of pennies from the bank, and boom, I was addicted again.
Can I have a Whitman?
Yeah. I still have the folder. He was like, I'm over it. And I was like, well, I'm going to keep this. It's a memory for me. And that's one of my treasured memories as far as coins go, is a not filled memorial sent Whitman folder.
I got a few of them over here.
That he did, So.
Yeah, and it's fun. And, but again, that's why we do this. We do this for the stories. We do this for the fun. I like conversation. I like learning about people's histories. And again, folks, I'm gonna implore you 75% of the people who watch my channel don't subscribe. Consider it. Okay. We like to talk about these things, but what I also like to do is, like, vote for Pedro. I live 50 miles from this. Well, hey, send me some information about stuff that maybe only folks in your area know. Right? Let's talk about these things. Maybe I can do a thing on Jesse James and find maybe some of the silver that they got from maybe one of their busts when they busted the gang. Kind of like the dollars that you can get from the for DB Cooper, right? Those are some collectible bills. You ever seen one of those?
I love that DB Cooper stuff. That is one of the best conspiracies ever.
Well, they think they finally broke the case.
Yeah.
But for me, it'll always remain the unsolved case.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's see. What do we got going on? My grandma sat me down in the bank vault of the bank she managed, and I filed folders. Oh, yeah. Well, that was back when you could work as a kid and not get in trouble. Can't do that nowadays. SE's 56. Walter's like, I'm not old, but I'm getting there. Nah, it's all fun. But again, we talk about the differences in our stories and where we come from. And I think this is one thing that I really like about doing the channel. I would never have got to talk to many of you if it wouldn't have been for the stream. So if you have stories that you guys want to know more about, let us know. Yeah, I know you live pretty close to Delenego. Why haven't you sent me a coin yet? Me's like, listen, dude. Me sent me a lot of coins over the years. Good dude. Actually, every time he comes through San Antonio, I try to get together and go have lunch with him. But a lot of great friendships, a lot of great discussions, a lot of great stories. Tomorrow, during the live stream, Jack Young's going to be here. We're going to talk more Carson City. We're going to talk about some of the common counterfeits of Carson City. We're going to talk a little bit about mint marks and actually give you guys tools and strategies. So this is exactly how this is going to run for the next few weeks. We're going to be talking about Philadelphia. Next week, is Jack Young or Jack Riley? I know, well, Jack Young is working.
I haven't seen either one of them this morning.
Sonny's in SA. I love SA. I'm north of SA. But one thing that I want to do is I want to kind of keep the topic, keep that kind of flow. So we're actually going to go over New Orleans next Saturday. We're going to talk about the history of New Orleans. New Orleans is a powerhouse. When you're talking about, show trading coins, that's right. He said that if he wasn't here, something went horribly wrong. But we're going to talk about New Orleans. And then on Sunday, we're going to try and work it out to where Jack Riley can come up with Jack Young. It may just be audio, and I'll probably get some images from him. And we're going to talk about the family of micro O's that he's identified. There's a whole series of those. We'll talk about a lot of those and give you guys some information. So here's what I want you guys to do for next weekend. Actually, even tomorrow. If you have Carson City coins, Carson City halves, full dollars, whatever they might be, get them out. Come tomorrow. We'll be talking about mint marks. We'll pull stuff up. We'll be pulling up VAMs. We'll pull all that stuff up. We're going to be doing all sorts of that. Hopefully, you guys can have some information that helps you identify what some of these things are. So that's going to be tomorrow. We're also going to do this on the next Sunday, where he talks specifically about the micro O. And I want you to grab your Morgans, grab all your New Orleans Morgans, and let's look at some of those and see if we can't find maybe something wrong. Every time Jack Riley or Jack Young talk, I go through my collection and I look for coins. And Jack Riley has the dubious honor of being the person who taught me my first counterfeit coin in my in my stack. And I had no idea, absolutely no idea. And so get that stuff, have that stuff available. We got a couple good weeks coming ahead. And so stay tuned, make sure you're sharing this stuff out. And again, if you're watching and you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing, hit that notification bell, share it out. And again, I don't ask you guys, yeah, we get ads. Sorry about that, but I'm not going to ask you to support the channel by super chats or anything like that. If you want to do something like that, gift a membership, right? Include other people in the community. But I don't ask you guys for anything. I just ask that you subscribe and share it out. Okay, let's grow the channel that way. Eric, what do you guys have going on this weekend? What are you guys pushing?
I have one reveal this weekend, a 46S, and I think I'm going to do it this evening around 4 or 5 o'clock. And that's all I got going on.
Sonny, I hope to see you there. You said it looks like it's going to be a good time. Well, I hope to see you there. For everybody who's been here, I hope you enjoy this. I'm going to go through and clip the first portion of this. I'm going to make a video. If you want to go back, I'm just going to, it'll take me a couple of days to do the editing, but I'll make a little short video of that and then just put it into the stories book. So if you just want to do that, you don't want to listen to the whole conversation, that story will be available to you. It's about 15 minutes long. So I will be doing that. If you guys have questions, comments, or if you want to just member for 26 months, we're talking OG here. Subscribe, people. Thanks, me. Appreciate you, bud. But please be here tomorrow. And again, grab your Carson City coins, have them available, and ask lots of questions. Again, we're going to have Jack Young here, done a lot of work on this. Jack Riley will probably be in chat. And do me a favor, please, please, please be praying for Paula. Paula had her procedure. She's a little bit under the weather, trying to take care of some stuff. Send a message to her. Go check out one of the videos. Say, hey, Paula, thinking about you. Go to the community page. Love you, Paula, thinking about you. Let her know that you're thinking about her. She is a staple on this channel because she is full of wealth and knowledge. So again, please make sure you're stopping over and saying hi. All right. Eric, thanks, brother, as always, for coming up. I appreciate you hanging out with us.
Always a pleasure. Love this kind of stuff.
And we'll have to do some digging on New Orleans. We're going to have some more conversation next week. All right, brother. Well, hey, folks, I appreciate you. Be well, be blessed. And I will see you guys in the streams. Take care.